All right, so welcome everybody, and welcome those that are watching online. It is Wednesday night, October the something. I think it's like the 9th. The 14th? Is it really the 14th? You know, that really is funny because my computer actually literally says the 9th. But it also says that it's 11 p.m. So hey, go figure that one out. Might need to have some computer genius guy. See, look, you can see it right there. October the 9th, 11:01 p.m. Great Scott, Charlie Brown. Those of you that missed being able to come tonight, that's not a part of the live crowd, I want to tell you that you missed pumpkin cake with, what was that, cream cheese icing, pumpkin cake with cream cheese. We had lemon bars, lemon square bars, kinds of things. And then we also had, what was the third thing we had? There was another one. Amy, go ahead and bring our visitor forward, if you will, for just a moment. And if you hear a bunch of chaos going on during during the service, yes. Come on, Pebbles, come here. Come here, Pebbles. Come here, I want you to sit up here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Oh, it's a big doggy. So here, have a seat. Sit. Can you sit? Good girl. So this is Miss Pebbles. And Miss Pebbles is 3 times the size. Isn't that about right? 3 times than when we brought her home? Yeah, about 3 times the size. And she's 3 times as ornery as the day that we picked her up. Isn't that right, little girl? But anyway, she's going to hang out with Miss Amy because she's going to want to bark and do all kinds of things. So Amy, I bid you a fair dog. Let's do a couple real quick housekeeping kinds of things. Amy, if you want to stay within earshot, as long as the dog is not going nuts, that would be great. Number 1, Deanna Montgomery. I'll tell you real quickly what I believe is the story with Deanna. Deanna went to bed last night not feeling good, felt like her stomach was upset. She continued to feel worse and worse and worse to the point where she said, need to go to the hospital. So she went to the hospital. And they said, yep, I totally understand, or we totally understand why you don't feel well. You have gallstones. How many of you guys have ever had gallstones? Actually, I have not. But I hear that giving birth is more pleasant than having gallstones. And there are people shaking their heads up and down. So they said, you need to pass the gallstones and you will feel better. We could charge you $1 bazillion a night for you to stay here, or you could go home and pass them on your own. So she decides to go home. The problem was when she got home, she continued to feel worse and worse and worse until about this morning, around 6 o'clock, she said, I can't take it no more. You remember when Popeye used to say that? I've had all I can stands, I can't stands no more. Anyway, so she goes back to the hospital and they said, yep, they shouldn't have released you. You actually have your gallbladder's very much infected, inflamed, and whatever. So they kept her. They moved her, I think, to IU. In fact, I know they moved her. I'm not sure where she was before, but they moved her to IU Hospital on 31. And as of 1:30, she had surgery. Now, Amy put on there that she had her gallbladder removed, and Amy did that probably because I said something that kind of implied that they were going to take the whole gallbladder. I don't know if they did that or if they just kind of opened up the gallbladder and removed the stones. I don't know. But she did have surgery, and I do know that she finished up with surgery and was hopefully going to be going into recovery. I don't know. I think it was like around 4:30 when I finally called Jaden again. I said, what's up with your mom? And he gave me that. He says, I really don't know. All I know is this. So we'll send another email out tonight, and we'll give everyone an update on Deanna. But that's what's been going on with her. I did talk to her, and I did pray with her over the phone right before she went into surgery. And I'm telling you guys, poor Deanna, and I mean that. Poor Deanna has had more issues, more things kind of like go wrong, feet issues, other things, all kinds of nonsense stuff. It's just been kind of one thing after another. Somebody could probably write a Jobette story. Would that be the female version of Job, Jobetta? I don't know. But Jobetta. But anyway, be praying for her. I know she wasn't excited about having another surgery, another procedure, but I think that was a whole lot better than the alternative. Trying to pass those gallstones, I hear, is horrible. So anyway, we'll give an update there. Let's talk a little bit about Terry and Louise. By the way, Terry and Louise are among the different ones that are watching. Hopefully they're watching live. If they don't get to it live, they watch it a little bit later. But I had the privilege going over and seeing them today. I didn't get to go see them yesterday because guess what? The hospital is like, no, you can't come. No pastors allowed, and no, we're not going to go there. Believe me, I'm already enough there. I don't need any help. But anyway, went over and saw them today. So yesterday they did this kind of like spinal tap sort of a thing where they wanted to take some of the fluid off of his spine and his brain a little bit. You all remember when Barry had that episode and the fluid around his brain somehow started leaking out? My understanding is we're talking about the same thing here, and it goes up and down your spine and stuff, right? So they were thinking that maybe it was just a little bit too overpressured. And so they were hoping by taking like 50 milliliters out or whatever else, that would make things easier. They took 40 out yesterday instead of the 50, and he was kind of complaining about his legs feeling a little bit funny, so they said, you know what, that's enough, let's stop. And then they told him to go home and rest, and then this morning he was to go in and do his, I don't know what you call it, but your like exercises and therapy. I'm so stupid, I can't even say the word therapy. I can't tell you my name either. Puddentane something, but he went in and he had his therapy today. They were just really, really hoping for just a dramatic improvement. And the bottom line is, honestly and truly, it just wasn't there. Just wasn't there. When I was there, the son called. The son hadn't heard all of the results yet and stuff. And he called. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he called and Louise said, well, it wasn't what we wanted, wasn't the best news. He said, but it's going to be okay. And she said it as a statement first, and then she turned it into a question mark. And it just kind of broke my heart. Thing of it is Terry looked great, and he was having a good day all in all. And things were nice. Mom and Dad went and visited them, late last week, and Dad brought his dulcimer, and the neighbor lady showed up, and they're going to put together a band, I think. She's going to play the accordion, and Dad's going to play the dulcimer, and Terry's going to play the kazoo, and Louise is going to play the player piano. I don't know. Anyway, it'll be fun. But and she was thankful for all the other people that had gone and visited and had brought nice things and everything else. And I'm going to tell you, I know they're hungry for people to come and visit with them and just take it easy and such. But Terry looked good, and Mom you're talking about how hard it is to kind of get him up. Well, Louise and I got him up and moved him to his thing, and you know what, it is kind of hard and tough, but I'll tell you, Amy, I really do believe, Amy, that God had it for me to go and visit with them today, because she just kept going on and on and on about how hard it is to move Terry and how it would just be so much better if, she could move him like from the bed to a chair or whatever else a little bit easier. And I said to her, Louise, I need to talk to my mother-in-law. And I need to have her take some pictures and some photos of Amy's dad, Bill, and the way that she helps to maneuver him around. I said, they have some of these devices, they have like a chair. I asked them, I said, do you ever sit out? All these people were walking out in front of their house. They live out like on the number 6 hole of the golf course over there at Prairie View or whatever it's called, and just gorgeous. What's the harbor called? North Harbor. North Harbor. Anyway, all these people were walking their dogs. I couldn't help but look out, and someone said, Terry, do you go out there and sit? And she goes, yeah, we do that. The problem is in his chair, he keeps kind of sloping down further and further down his chair, and it's almost impossible for me to pick him back up and stuff. And I sat there and I thought, oh my lands, you needed to talk to Amy Gammon, but you even need to talk more to Lorraine Hostetter, because Bill has a chair that, keeps it. So anyway, Dad's got his hand up and stuff, but anyway, we're going to get them hooked up with Lorraine and show them some of the stuff that Bill's doing, and work with their insurance. Hopefully they can do a little bit better and stuff. I know. There's some further things that they need to do, but these are things that Amy and Lorraine and Clay and Karen, had to work through in regards to Amy's dad, and I think there can be some real neat things. Let me say this, and we'll transition this way. I took the bus. And I've been riding in the bus and kind of tweaking on the bus and working on the church bus. And the church bus is close to being ready to go in a couple of good ways. And next week, I'm not sure, we're going to look at the weather and we're going to check their calendar. But I told Terry and Louise we're going to get it so that we go over and we're going to get a group of people. And we're going to go over to Terry and Louise's house and get him in his wheelchair, get them on the church bus, because we have that little platform lowers, and you can just give them and just put them in there. We're going to lower those windows. We're going to go get some cider and some donuts and some fun things. We're going to drive around. We're going to go look at the leaves changing, and maybe go up and down Potter's Bridge and some of those kinds of things. He lit up like a Christmas tree. And I said, the thing of it is it says it won't be too long after that, and we'll do the same thing, but we'll go and we'll look at Christmas lights. And we'll have hot chocolate, and stuff. So be keeping that in mind. And those of you that are online watching, keep that in mind. We're going to send an email out soon, and we're going to do some fun things like that, where we're just taking little, not even a full day trip, but more like a 3-hour trip, 3-hour fun trip. And the nice thing of it is we're going to do stuff that's fun. We're going to do stuff that's inexpensive. And we're going to do stuff that's really going to light some people up and just have a lot of fun together, okay? And we'll worry about the COVID thing and the masks and seating. I know. But I'm glad. I don't think people online can see the audience, shaking their head. But, hey, guys, I'm telling you what. I'm hoping that this whole thing is going to be done and over with sometime soon. Yeah, well, we're just going to kind of wait and see. All right, so let me think. Some other things I want to mention. I'll talk about this in just one moment. We have a time vault on the side of our church. Mom, Dad, did you know that there was a time vault on the side of our church? There is. It's due to open in 2020. The thing of it is in February, we had this stupid thing called a pandemic that started. And we didn't even have church services for about 2.5 months. And then we slowly started having church services. And now we're slowly having dessert church. And we want to have dinner church. But I'm afraid that we're just going to have a small group of people that are going to come out. But I do want to be faithful, and believe me, Amy and I have talked. I've even talked with a handful of board members. Randy, you're a board member, I know, and I don't think I talked with you. A couple other board members I may or may not have talked to, but here's kind of what we thought we would kind of do with this time vault. I think we need to open it in 2020, even though, there may not be a whole massive group of people here. We can always invite people to come back and have a celebration later. So we pretty much decided that we're not going to wait till 2021, even though it says 2020, after the pandemic is done and whatever else. What's that? We will probably be able to do that. It'll be a little tricky, and we've been thinking about that. Somebody asked, well, could you do it online? And the answer is yes, we can. I think we can do this. We have cameras that are mounted in here, but we might be able to move a camera in such a way that we can do this. But here's kind of what we're thinking. We're thinking that we're going to open it on a Sunday morning. And we're going to invite our former pastor, Dave and Jennifer Nicholson. We're going to invite them to come and be with us for that Sunday. And what we'll do is we'll start out and we'll probably have like some breakfast donuts and some things like we used to do before the pandemic. We'll have that. And we'll probably start that like at 10 o'clock. And then probably like right at 10:15 or better, that is closer to like 10:20, we'll start the service. And what we'll probably do is we'll start it outside and we'll open the vault. And then what we'll do is we'll bring the things out from the vault, and we'll probably have all of us come inside, and we'll set up some tables, and we'll look at some of those things on the table, and we'll talk about them, and we'll incorporate that with our regular time of worship. We thought would be nice to do celebrating. We would want to give Dave and Jennifer an opportunity to share. They sacrificed an awful lot to try to get this church, to where it was and everything. And guys, I'm telling you, believe me, I know. After Amy and I graduated from Greenville and we were dating each other, we got invited to help with a church plant down in Greenwood. And we know how hard that is. And we know that it was probably 10 times harder for Dave and Jennifer and that group of folks that came over from the Anderson Wesleyan Church to help do this. So anyway, we want to celebrate that, and we'll kind of incorporate it into the church. We want to look back, we want to look at the present, and we want to look forward a little bit. And Amy and I were brainstorming a little bit, and we're thinking it could almost lead into a society meeting. That we would have maybe like the week later or something like that or whatever. But because we have a couple of new board members that we're wanting to bring on, and we need to elect or re-elect a delegate, some of those kinds of things. So we thought this might be a nice way to transition to all of those kinds of things. I haven't talked to Dave and Jennifer. They sent a note and they said, hey, are you going to still try to do the time vault, in 2020? And I said, yeah, I think we're going to. It's certainly our hope. I said, regardless of when we do it, we'll definitely make sure that you're here. And they were excited to hear that. So that's going to go on. I have a date right now in my mind. It's not insanely far off, and it is before it gets too crazy cold. Okay, and it is definitely before, 2021. So, and there's not that many weeks before that. So, and we don't want to get too deep into Christmas time either to do that. So anyway, I've got a date. We need to look at some things, make sure that this is good. I need to get a hold of Dave and Jennifer, make sure that they are able to be here with us on that Sunday. And if so, then we're gonna nail it down, and we will let you know. And what we'll do is we'll send an email out to everyone, and we say, listen, we know this is, in the midst of a pandemic, and we need to practice social distancing, and we want to be faithful in that. But we're going to try to open this vault on that date, and we'll have it online for those of you that would like to watch it online. Even if we can't get where we're pulling the door of the vault off, we'll get it as we're walking in anyway. At the worst, at the very least. Okay. So Pebbles is very excited about the idea of opening up that time vault. All right. Do you guys have any questions about any of that? Did anyone notice that I sent an email out in the last hour or so? A couple of y'all did. Here's the email that I sent out. And I think I can do this in such a way that, come on, little mouse. Oh, wait a minute, it's over here. There we go. Let's try this. Bing. Come on. All right. Anyway, here's the email that I sent out, and it basically says this. It says, hi guys, I'm really hoping that at least 12 to 15 is what I have there. I really want to say 15 to 20. I'm really hoping for a bunch of trunk or treat scenes for our upcoming church rolling trunk or treat, which is going to be on Saturday, October 31st, Halloween night, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. in our church parking lot. Everyone say, in our church parking lot. In the church parking lot. We need people to step up and help with this really, really fun idea. And I really do think and believe that it can be a very, very fun idea. As people pull into the church parking lot, we will have people, we will have cones, and we will have signs out here which will direct people to do a loop all the way around our church parking lot, which is very, very simple because it basically does a loop anyway, doesn't it, right? So we'll do that, and then what we want is about every 20 feet apart, we're going to have a station or a trick-or-treat scene or whatever you want to call it there, where the kids can look out their car windows, see the really cool scene, go, wow, that's fun, that's imaginative, that's cool, this isn't a lame church. They must have a really cool pastor with a really cool wife and a really cool dog and really cool volunteers to do something really cool like this, okay? And then we'll hand them candy while they're in their car. Now, do you want to know what the average temperature is of Halloween night historically on October 31st here in central Indiana? Do you want to know what the average weather is like? Is that what it is? Because I really don't know. I don't know at all. But he said 52 degrees. And the thing of it is I would dare say you're probably right on target because I think you're actually very, very close because right now the average temperature is 70. And Halloween's not even 2 weeks away. So now we're talking 5 o'clock to 7 p.m., so could it be a little cooler? Yeah. Are we beginning to enter into a little bit more of a rainy season? Do you know? Actually not. The rainy season doesn't get here actually until November. So, the fact that we had rain and cold weather last year was kind of a fluke. But we want to be prepared, and we're going to do this rain or shine. You can put up one of those little 10 by 10 like little awning things. What we want to do is we want to have generators out there so we can have electricity and extra lighting and fun things like a fog machine or something if you wanted something like that or whatever. We will work to try to get those things out there. So if you have something, we will make it so that you can do this. And then as those cars come by, we will have pre-bagged candy for each of those stations, and it'll basically be somebody with gloves on. They'll reach down, get one for each of the kids, and toss it through the window for them, okay? And they just go around kind of like, when they went around Willy Wonka's Magical Chocolate Factory, and they just went from place to place looking at all the cool, fun stuff. But we want it to be not lame. The last thing that we want is to sit there and say, hey, look at us, we're boring and we're lame. You guys come to church, you enjoy our services, you like this church. This isn't a lame church. It shouldn't be a lame church. I've got some examples of some fun things that I took 15 minutes, just did a couple of Google searches, and I found some examples that I'm excited to show you. We have a little storage barn out there with a big door on the storage barn. This guy made this and just put it on his garage door. And then when trick-or-treaters come, he just stood there and he handed out candy. That's fun. That's imaginative. It's not horror. It's not, dark. It's just kind of fun, right? Here's some other ones I thought was really cool. This guy made this out of like a mop with a broomstick and a mop, and he probably put like a balloon over it, put a shirt on it, made his face really funny. That's clever. That's really cool. No, but I like them. I think it's fun, and I think that's fantastic. This is something really simple. Somebody just took a couple of pumpkins, spray painted them black, cut out some eyes and some whiskers and some little things, and put it on a barrel. Now, I'm telling you, if kids are coming by and that's there, and you handing them candy, and there's like light showing up on them and stuff like that, they're going to say, "Oh, that's really fun. That's cute. That's clever," or whatever. You got that. Let me keep showing you. This right here, I think, is awesome if you can't see it. It's a flying saucer. It's really, really big, but imagine that Dad, isn't that cool? But imagine that on a much smaller scale. You know, maybe something that's like 10-foot round, made out of cardboard. You spray paint it. It's sunk into the ground. You got a little fish tank for the little thing there. And you got a little blow-up alien who's on the ground here. What you could do is you could put the alien underneath like he's trying to repair the spaceship or something, you know. And it's got the dirt. I mean, it's really clever. It's like, you know, caution tape. I think that could be like really, really fun. This is, Amy and I already decided, we've got a friend who has some mannequins that I'm pretty sure he'll let us borrow. You got these feet that are sticking up out of the ground, and right here's a little sign that says, I grounded my kids for Halloween. Isn't that awesome? I mean, that is clever, and I'm telling you, people will drive by and they'll see that, and they will laugh, they'll have a good time, and they'll associate our church as being a fun, you know, not lame, you know, kind of a church, especially when we whack them out with all the candy. This is fun. We have a basketball goal out there now. That's Mr. Irish guy. But imagine if we got some clothes and we stuffed up the clothes full of leaves and whatever else, and you put a mask on him, and he's hanging up there dunking the basketball through the hoop, and there's a light shining him, and maybe there's music in the background going dun 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 dun, you know, like they do at the big basketball games. And they drive by and they see that, and there are people there handing out candy. That's really cool, isn't it? See, these are not super complicated things. This right here is the greatest thing I've seen. Those are 2 hay bales, and probably with 15 minutes of effort, they turned them into minions. And aren't those cool looking minions? And who doesn't love the minions, right? So I think that would be a lot of fun. Those are just milk cartons with a magic marker. I mean, seriously, that's pretty cool looking, isn't it? You got some funny faces. Just imagine about 10 of those all spaced out together and stuff. And people, I mean, that just looks fun. Take you an hour to make something like this, right? We have the Charlie Brown scene downstairs. I hope Karen Montgomery's watching. Karen, I hope that you would be willing to come out if it's not crazy cold or whatever. Or somebody else could do that. You know, she could delegate that to someone else on their behalf. But she's got like this scene with some of these different characters and stuff. That's perfect. We throw some lights on it. It looks really, really cool, right? Here, you just got a couple of balloons or some balls, you know, or they're on a stick or something. You just, you know, that's so, I mean, they're all holding hands. They're playing Ring Around the Rosie or something. How cool is that? You know, you can go and buy yourself a fog machine for $20. You could have it for the rest of your life. Throw a little fog around that thing, and suddenly, and some fun music. You know, they're singing the Monster Mash music or something. Totally cool stuff. Couple more and we'll be done. Here are a couple of cars that I've got. This is a car, somebody's back. That's just simple cutouts that they painted. You know, and if you want to do something like that, but you don't have the paint, or you don't know if you have the artistic ability, call my mom. She'll tell you where you can get the paint. I'm telling you, there is a recycle store in town that you can buy paint like crazy. And just paint the cardboards and stuff, come out, put them on there, just as fun as can be. It's free, absolutely, it's free. And when you're done, what you don't use, you just take back to the recycle place. It's right across the street from the 4-H grounds. Right across the street from the, right next to, it's in the same parking lot as the Humane Society. And then there's another one here, and I don't know why I can't get that to show up, but there's another one over here, just another car. But I sent this to everybody that I've got an email address to. And like I said, can you imagine these kids coming through, and they see 20 of these? And they go through, and it takes them 30 minutes, 15 minutes to 30 minutes to go through our neighborhood. They just look like a small parade, and they see all these things. One's on the outside, one's on the inside, outside and the inside. The kids are going from the back window that side to the back window this side, and we see. And at the very end, what we're going to do is we're going to build a green screen, and the car is going to drive by the green screen. We're going to take their picture with the green screen, and then we're going to use software, and we're going to get their email addresses, hopefully, and then we're going to have a monster that will come and it'll be like getting ready. He'll be a funny monster, like a polka dotted monster, and he'll be like going, like he's getting ready to eat the car. And he'll say, "Thanks for visiting Open Door Church." It'll have our website and our services on it, and they'll get that emailed to them within the next day. I mean, just really, really slick. And I'm telling you guys, with your guys' help, it will actually be less work for me and Amy than what it normally is. We'll have a hot dog station where, would you like a hot dog? Here's hot dogs for the kids. Amy already made up a flyer. I think I can bring that up for you. Try this one instead. Rolling trunk or treat. Open. Come on, you dog. It won't do it. It does it here, but it won't show it up there. Anyway, doesn't that look lovely? Anyway, what we'll do is we pretty much finalized this. We're gonna look at it again in the morning and make sure our brains haven't changed. And if it's good, then we're gonna start printing them. And then we're gonna send them everywhere. And I mean everywhere. And the thing of it is the only thing worse than only having 10 of these instead of 20 of these is not having enough candy for all the people that come by. We're going to have fun music, fun themes. We're going to have lights going around. We're going to have fog. It's going to be cool. And it's going to be on a Saturday night. And we're going to be done at 7. And we're going to wrap it up, tear it down, and we're going to be in bed by 10 o'clock. And get ready for church the next day. The other thing is, Amy, the bishop is coming, is it the week before or the week after? The week before. How cool would it be to sit there and say, we've got 25 scenes volunteered. And he says, well, what's a scene? And we kind of show him and we tell him what we're doing. And he's just like, that's about as cool as anything I heard. Did you have a thought?
Yeah, if we put together a skit, how many minutes would the car be?
It's going to be pretty quick. I don't know if you could really do a skit. I mean, you might have 30 seconds, as they're rolling. Because imagine, my fear is we're going to have these cars backed up on the road, and we can't have them backed up to 206 because that then becomes kind of dangerous. So we're going to have to kind of figure out good ways to keep it flowing. I don't really expect them to even really fully stop. I expect them just to roll. Their foot's on the pedal, but they're just rolling. You got 20 scenes, and it takes them probably 15 minutes to go all the way through. And I imagine we can have probably 30 cars, probably, in the parking lot at one time, or 20 or 25, something, I don't know. But, they're kind of rolling, okay? So you just kind of keep that in mind a little bit. Like the Christmas lights. Absolutely. They're rolling like through the Christmas lights. That's exactly really what it is. And as they're enjoying all the lights, we want them to enjoy all the scenes. I hope somebody would come up with like a really cool E.T. scene. Guys, I saw one, and I originally was going to send it to you, and I said, oh, this may be too much. But I kid you not, I saw a picture of this guy, and he had a pirate ship coming completely out of his house. And it was amazing looking. And I tell you, you remember when we did the VBS with the ship, and this had this massive ship in the church, and it was impressive. I mean, you can do what you want, man. If you want to go all out, and I'll tell you what, Amy, we'll have a prize for the coolest one, okay? That somebody makes themselves. That has just the biggest impression. We could even tell the kids, I think we did this last year, which of the scenes, scene 1, 2, scene 3. We could tell them now, pay attention and tell us which scene you like the most. I think it was the Lego scene that Ron and Peter Barth did last year that the kids loved it the most. Okay, do you have any questions on any of this at all? All right. Those of you that are watching online, text me, send me a message, but here's the thing. Guys, if Sunday comes and it's Sunday morning and we only have 4 or 5 people saying, we'll do a scene, I'm going to be scared to death. I'm going to think, Okay, well, we've already exhausted a ton of energy on this, and we're not getting anywhere. Now, I'll tell you, Amy and I will make the legs coming up out of either the asphalt or the grass, and we'll come up with a clever sign, about grounding the kids or something like that. And somebody can just say, hey, listen, I can't make something, but I will be more than glad to dress up. And, and we want everyone to dress up in a fun character. You can't come just as you are. You got to dress up and be funny. Okay, somebody can dress up and you could have your hands down there and your feet up here and you're walking on your hands and your head's hanging right there and like, hey, and you're handing out candy, whatever. But we want people to dress up in a costume or whatever else. But you can sit down. We want you to rest. And the thing of it is we're hoping there's at least 2 people at each station, so when somebody needs a break, they could come in if they need to warm up or need to sit down. But the thing of it is we're going to bring some forced air heaters as well. So we're going to make sure that there are some heating stations out there for people to be able to get warmed up at and stuff. We'll have hot cider for you guys. We'll make it fun for you guys. We'll make it as enjoyable and as easy for you guys as we possibly can. And it's a 2-hour thing. Once it starts, it's a 2-hour thing. After that, you can tear it down and go home and do your thing, okay? All right, I'm not going to say any more on that. We'll say more on that on Sunday. Hopefully there's 1 million people watching online and all giving it big thumbs up and everything else. All right, let me get out of this. Let me get to my other thing. Wow, I can't even see. While I am doing this, there it is. While I am doing this, and I'm pulling up, ooh, there it is right there. Oh yeah, I gotta do this now. Boom, look at that, guys. 2 weeks ago, we were getting ready to talk about the book of 2 John. And I got so into the detail of trying to introduce the book that I literally took the entire hour. Last week, we had the week where we talked about something totally different because I felt the need to do that, and I don't know if that was good or not, but anyway, that's in the past. Can't change it. So today we're looking back into 2 John. Let me ask you this. Who do you think the author is of this book, 2 John? Who do you think is the author? You think it's Matthew? You think it's John? You're being funny. How many of y'all think that the disciple, the Peter, James, and John, how many of y'all think it was that John who wrote this book? How many of you are pretty confident in your answer? That's good. You're right. It was. At least we believe it is. But here's the interesting thing. How many letters or how many books did John write? How many? Can you name them?
The Gospel of John, 1, 2, 3 John, and Revelation.
You know what's really funny is, no, what's really funny is you're absolutely right, but the problem is this. We're not going to be talking about 2 John tonight. Do you want to know why? Because we're going to be talking about 2 Peter tonight instead. Wow. Those of you that are watching online are really getting a real treat tonight, aren't you? Okay, so who do you think wrote the book of 2 Peter? Peter. Peter wrote the book, 2 Peter. How many letters or how many books in the Bible do you think Peter wrote? 2. So you have 1 Peter and you have 2 Peter. Now here's where the questions get more tricky. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. Does anybody remember? What was the main theme? Now I'll tell you this, I'll give you a hint. And both of his letters are warnings. Big time warnings. And very understandable warnings. They're huge. But they're totally different from 1 John to 2 John. The warnings are completely different. Peter. Thank you, Mom. My land. It's been a long day. First Peter and Second Peter, the warnings are completely different. Let's start with First Peter. Does anybody remember what the warnings are within First Peter? Anybody? No? And what'd you say? It is, but that's not what the danger is. There is a real and very present danger that was taking place at that time. And the danger was this: you very well may be persecuted, even put to death for your faith. And that's what he talks about in that first letter. He's talking to not just a specific church. He's talking to a series of churches. It was a letter that was being passed from city to city, church to church, throughout Asia Minor, and that whole big providence there, okay? But that first letter was, you know what? You know how they persecuted Jesus? You know how you remember all these things that they did to Jesus? They very well may do those exact same things to you, and you need to decide right now, before it happens, what you're going to do when that persecution comes. You will be persecuted as a church. Now, I do want to say this, guys, and don't let me go too long on this, but I do want to say this. My opinion, my belief is that, well, for example, we know already that history has a tendency to do something, and that's why it's very, very important for us to know our history. The problem is people are rewriting history books, and they're lying to these students, and they don't even tell them a third of what really took place, throughout American history, let alone world history. But why is it important, Gene Hall? Why is it important for us to know our history? History always has that tendency to repeat itself. And guys, I believe that Jesus inspired these words to people like Peter and John and Paul and all these different ones because they knew that they would be persecuted very, very early on in the very, very early days, weeks, months, and years of the early church. And were they? Big time. All 12 of the disciples, Jesus' original disciples, all 12 of them, plus the 13th one who became the 12th one after Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus, all of them died martyred as a result of their faith. Even John, who lived on Patmos and wrote the book of Revelations, after that, they believe, and there is big-time historical proof showing that he was martyred for his faith, that he didn't just die a natural death. Okay? So they have all died as a result. Now, the thing of it is has that martyrdom and has that persecution continued on, throughout all of time? No. For crying out loud, there have been seasons where the church not only was at peace with the rest of the world, but much of the world very much respected and embraced the church. But in the last days, Jesus said again very clearly that the church would be persecuted, that the individuals would be persecuted. So do you think that 1 Peter is an important book of the Bible? Yeah. Big time. Big time. And I'm telling you, it's one thing to sit there, go into something, with some warnings in advance, than it is just to go into something absolutely shocked and taken off guard, right? So for that reason, and we may go back and restudy 1 Peter. I love the book. But 2 Peter had a message that really has coincided with some of the things that we've been talking about and the things that we see going on today. So I want to talk more about 2 Peter. So if the 1 Peter is a warning about the persecution of the church and everything that would take place, how Jesus was persecuted and how Christians would be persecuted at different times, what do you think is the main theme of this book of 2 Peter? And it's a huge warning. And it is a little bit similar. No, it's not that the persecution starts coming true. That's a good answer. But what he says is, guys, you could get really messed up if these guys come to persecute you, this is 1 Peter, they're going to come and they're going to persecute you, and if you are caught off guard, you might be tempted to denounce Christ or to do whatever else, so you need to be ready for it. You know, if persecution comes, you need to stand your ground, trust in the Lord, you know, He has your back. Yes. In 2 Peter, it's more of, guys, there is a warning, and you could get really, really messed up. But instead of the people outside of the church being the ones that are going to really, really mess you up, Peter gives a big-time warning that there will be false teachers, false shepherds, false prophets that are within the church that have been planted there by Satan himself, looking to disrupt and to deceive, you know, the church and to blow up the church from within. What can you tell me about an institution that is divided? An institution that is divided will not be able to stand, will it? And so all of these false teachers were introduced into the early church to try to bring up divisions and falsehoods and splinters. Do you think they did a pretty good job? The fact of the matter is, you look across America and the world today, there are all kinds of denominations out there that claim to be under that Christian umbrella, many of which, I believe most of which, don't have any alignment whatsoever with the gospel, the Bible, and the truth, but are out there preaching, teaching, and saying who knows what, pretty much anything what. You all know that there's a church down in Indianapolis. It's the Jesus Christ Church of cannabis, of smoking marijuana. You all remember hearing that, right? So, I mean, there's all kinds of things that are out there. This book is about warning you guys that there are going to be false teachers. There's going to be people out there that look like they're of Christ, sound like of Christ, look like, you know, I don't know if they smell like, but, you know, but whatever it is, they're going to have a kind of Christ-likeness about them. Now, let me ask you this. The devil, and you can see this from the very, very beginning, what is one of the big-time, most effective ways that the devil has or does to topple people and to mess people up and to get people going in the wrong direction? What does the devil? Half-truths. He uses half-truths. And so you have to keep in mind that if somebody is half-truthing you, well, you know what? Half of the time, they're going to look like they're as right as rain. And I believe the big-time warning here is this, and I said this to you 2 weeks ago. The problem that we have in the church in America today is the church in America today, and I don't know if it's because they're lazy, and I suspect probably laziness has a big part to do with it, but they're either too lazy, too busy, too distracted, or too dysfunctional to really plug themselves into the Bible, reading the Bible daily, learning the Bible. Guys, the church, the quote-unquote church, and the people that are a part of the church in America today, they don't know their Bibles. It's embarrassing. We could sit there and we could play a game on Sunday morning. We could say, all right, everyone put their name in the hat. We're going to pull a name out of the hat. We're going to ask you a simple question about the Bible. And if you know it right, then you get a prize. You know how embarrassing that would be for me as well as everyone? It would be rough, wouldn't it? It would be rough. Why? Well, guys, it's the same reason why there's only, you know, I don't know, a dozen plus people that are here on a Wednesday night instead of 75. And I'm not saying, because I know there are people that are watching online, I know there are people that will watch online later, but I'm telling you, why on earth are we not reading our Bible, learning our Bible, studying our Bible? I have people all the time. I had somebody remind me this week, sometimes I read the Bible and I can read a chapter of it, and when I'm done, I can't understand a thing. And I told that person, I said, well, what you need to do is this. You need to pray to the Lord. Lord, I am getting ready to read into your word, and I want to understand it. And I know I'm not going to probably understand all of it all at once, because if I did, I'd probably start going, wow, and kind of freaking out and everything else. But he will show you the little things. And then the next time you read it, he'll show you the bigger things and the bigger things and the bigger things, until you come to the point where it's like, wow, I really think I understand this. And the crazy thing of it is the next time you read it, you'll see something else there. I mean, I had somebody come to me. Somebody who's here tonight came to me, one time and said, what, I just really don't know the Bible, and I really struggle, and I just can't read the Bible. And we talked about this, and we prayed it together about this. And the thing of it is now I can't believe how much this person knows the Bible. And I've only been here 15 years. But they really, really know their Bible. They don't know it perfectly, and they can always stand. But guys, we don't do this. And so if you only know little bits about, and it's not like they don't know nothing about the Bible. It's not like they're completely ignorant, but they only know little bits here, little bits there, little bits, in these different places. And so when then somebody then comes to you and starts saying some basic things, John 3:16, and 1 Corinthians 13, and Revelations 3:16. And all these different things, and you're like, oh yeah, I know that, I recognize that. Wow. You remember me telling you about the guy who deceived me up in Elkhart? The guy who got some information. He knew about the superintendents, the bishops. He had names, and he starts feeding me all of these different things to the point where I'm like, wow, man, you've been a part of the Free Methodist Church for a long, long time. That's great. I can't wait to meet you. And then when he comes and he says to me, my moving truck broke down, was in an accident, things got moved into something or another, and I got to get some money together to go get my stuff out, and my family's going to be here in a couple of days. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, wow, what are we going to do to try to help this guy come up with the money that he needs to do this? But by the grace of God, I would have been fooled. And this guy was clever. Mom, that was a clever story, wasn't it? This guy had worked long and hard to get all of his information together so that he could be cunning and deceiving. And if you don't think the devil is going to work 1,000,000 times harder than that, then you're fooling yourself. Okay? So the best thing that we can do is, if we know there's going to be people out there, even people within the quote-unquote church umbrella, and they're going to deceive people and cause people to trip and stumble and stuff like that, what do you think is your best defense against those kinds of people? You better learn the Bible. And when you start hearing things that are completely and totally off scale, even though, guys, I'm going to tell you, I have known people who got caught up in cults. I can tell you of people just about in every single church that I've ever been affiliated with who got caught up in some cults. Some of the latest ones are, the Bible, man, Jesus, and all of these different things. And, oh, really? Yeah, well, I go to a church. I believe in those things too. Yeah, really? Well, this, and this, and that, and that, and everything. Wow, and next thing you know, they're becoming good friends. And not just a week goes by, but a couple of months go by. And this friendship is deepening, and they keep telling them things that they know, and so they think they're just right in line. But this person knows less than 50%. And so when this person begins to interject foreign stuff, false stuff, and this guy doesn't recognize it, but it's been months, and everything that he said's jived with what he said. And he's just waiting for his time to pounce and starts introducing a bunch of heresy and stuff. What do you think is going to happen with this person over here? Probably is going to follow along with. I gave you an example of a girl that I dated. Oh yeah, I'm a Christian. Oh yeah, I believe in Jesus. Oh yeah, everything. Next thing you know, I'm 3-4 months into a big time deep relationship with this girl. The mom and the dad, buying me clothes, because she knew, that mom and dad knew what I like. And what have I always liked? Clothes. You got to wrap it somehow, make it look somewhat presentable, And so this girl's mom and dad, man, they were missionary going after me in a huge way. Next thing you know, I'm going on a mini vacation trip with them up to Mackinac, and we're stopping by the Baha'i Temple in Chicago. Yeah, well, and a couple of months later, I realized, man, this girl's psycho, and what she believes. She was quite a lovely lady. But anyway, these things happened. And fortunately, Mom and Dad made sure that I got my butt up on Sunday mornings and listened to Iona Sewell's Sunday school lessons ever since I was a little bitty kid. And not just Iona. Mom, who were those Sunday school teachers? Esther Fox. Well, she was the best. Esther Fox. Jeff, why don't you pray that you can get the horses tended to and taken care of early enough so that you don't come into Sunday school class halfway through the class? It was really funny. You remember that? Anyway, different teachers. They were phenomenal. And then Bob Collins, youth person, made sure that we understood these things so that when false information was presented to me, I was able to recognize it. You hear what I'm saying, guys? This is for 2 Peter. That's what this letter is about. Now, I said last week that there was something going on. There was a heresy. And guys, I believe in every generation there is like a major heresy. And that heresy, and I know I don't have much long, but that heresy that was introduced, that was going on in the early church, do you remember what that heresy was? I had a name. I threw out that name to you 2 weeks ago. We talked about it. Does anybody remember what it is? Randy knows. Anybody else? I knew Randy knew. Anybody else remembered? Guys, I'm not going to knock you on this. I get it. But I'm telling you, this is something you should know. Because the problem is really this. That heresy wasn't just then, 2,000 years ago. That heresy is still showing up today in different times, in different ways, in different forms. I think that this is a big-time false god. I think this is a demonic power, a demonic influence that's still around today. Amy, do you know what it is? You don't remember? Randy, what is it? Gnosticism. Gnosticism is the belief that everything that is made of matter, that would include the earth, the sky, the water, the animals, including humanity, including you, and everything made of matter is entirely bad and evil, in contrast to spirit, which is considered entirely good. God is spirit, we are matter. God is pure, we are just completely and utterly and totally evil. Now you look at that right there and you say, well, I can see a lot of truth in that. Dad, you're looking at that. My dad's wheels are going right now, big time. And he's looking at that thing and he's thinking, well, there's not a whole lot of messed up stuff there. There's a lot of truth that's there. Well, yeah, there's a lot of truth there. It's a half-truth. It is a half-truth. See, I do want to go over these again. Because the human body is made of matter, it is always and can only be evil, in contrast to God, who is spirit and is holy God. Salvation is the complete escape. Now, this is where we see it more. This is where we know this is bad. And this was going on in the church, just like this. This isn't something that we just realized today. Peter, Paul, all of those disciples, they saw this. They knew this was going around way back when, and they were talking about it. But they said, Gnosticism says that salvation is the complete escape from the body. Now, what does that sound like? The complete escape of the body. When you are free, you will be completely removed and escaped from your body. What does that sound like? It sounds like an Eastern religion. Which Eastern religion does it sound like? Guys, this is Buddhism. You're reincarnated and stuff, and hopefully, one day you'll just, escape into nothingness. And the goal is to escape into nothingness, and then you'll have karma or what, I don't know what. Anyway, but it's a complete escape from the body, which is achieved not by faith in Jesus Christ. You don't get that from Jesus Christ. but you get it from having a special knowledge. There's a secret, a special knowledge. Now, the problem of it is the disciples were going around and saying, listen, if you know Jesus Christ and if you know what Jesus did for you, and if you put your faith in Jesus, then you'll be saved. You need this knowledge and this understanding of who Jesus is. Does that sound an awful lot like what we're just talking about? Knowledge of Jesus, or this secret knowledge? But the secret knowledge isn't of Jesus. In fact, you're not even able to tell anybody else what that secret knowledge is. It's a secret knowledge that will come to you and only to you and whatever else. But that's what Gnosticism is. And there's a million other things there. Gnosticism is the belief that Christ only appeared to have a human body. Christ did not have a human body. He was actually spirit that just looked like flesh. And if he did have a human body, that only happened after his baptism. But when he was nailed to the cross, the flesh disappeared and he was just spirit again. They believed that stuff. Lastly, Gnosticism saw humanity as evil, not because of sin or by breaking God's commandments, but just on the basis of having flesh. Those are the things that Gnosticism believed. And this was a rampant thing. Because Gnosticism believed that flesh was bad, because being made of matter, every aspect of flesh was considered bad. Touch is bad. Taste is bad. Smell is bad. Seeing is bad. Anything, everything like that. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. And then we get into Peter's words. Now, this is what I'm going to do. I am out of time. I'm out of time. Hopefully this was a good night. But here's what we're going to do. Next week, we're not going to look into chapter 1 of 2 Peter. Do you want to know why? Because you will have already read it. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into chapter 2. Because in chapter 1, it's really kind of more of an introduction and a hi, how are you? And there's a lot of other good things. There's some good meat there. But the premise of what he's writing about doesn't come until you get to chapter 2. And there you go. False prophets among the people, just as there were false teachers among you. And that's going to be the warning that we're going to talk about. Okay? So next week, what book of the Bible are we going to be studying and looking at? Very good. No one said 2 John, so that's good. So we're going to be looking at the second letter, or the second book of Peter. And what chapter are we going to be looking at? We're going to be looking at chapter 2. And the reason why we're not going to be looking at chapter 1 is because of what? You're just going to read it on your own before you come, okay? We'll highlight some things, but we're going to focus on chapter 2. And we're going to get there early, okay? So no big announcements next week or anything like that, but I wanted to mention these to you. Would you please continue to be in prayer for Deanna Montgomery, Terry and Louise Hoff, and Tony's niece, Kiera. Yeah. And her friend as well. What was her friend's name? Camille. Man, that's so good. I have to look at it. And guys, I know that there's only a million other prayer requests that are out there. Betty Clark, I talked with Betty Clark. She gave me a bit of an update, this great niece. I can almost tell you her name too, but not right now. But they think she's still in that induced coma, medically induced coma. They don't know what happened. She's just sitting there watching a movie as right as rain, and then suddenly she's probably about 35, maybe 40, 45 years old, I think at the most. She's a young person. They do think that they went through and they checked all of the valves and the passageways of the main heart and the main arteries in the heart, and everything looked good, but they do think that her heart was really, really weak, and there may be something that's causing this that has to do with a weakness of the heart that's not valve or blood flow related. Yeah, okay. So anyway, she said she'll keep us updated and stuff. Please be the church, a church that's in prayer for one another. Please be in prayer for your pastor and his wife. That is the best thing that you could ever do for us. Don't think that I haven't realized that this is like Pastor Appreciation Month, and Randy secretly somehow or another sent you all a little note saying, hey, show the pastor appreciation. And I love the whoopers. By the way, please Nobody get me any more whoopers. I've got more whoopers on my lands. I did. Wait, and you weren't the only one. But I'm loving them. I've been popping these whoopers, but I've been like floating on Sugar Rush. Guys, honestly and truly, the greatest thing that you can do for me is to spend an hour praying for me and my family. There's nothing greater that you could do for me. There are times when I feel your prayers and I sit down and I'm working on the message and it's just like I've got a direct channel to the Holy Spirit, it feels like. And there's other times where I will spend 25 hours and I'm scared to death of what I have in my hands on a Sunday morning, getting ready to bring it to you. So please be in prayer for your pastor. That is the thing. If the devil is attacking the world, think of how he's wanting to attack the pastors and the leaders and the such, okay? Please be in prayer for this country, our leaders, this election. There's never in my life, in my opinion, been an election more important than this election. But the thing of it is I know God is in control. I want whoever it is, and it may not be the person that I want, but God's going to use maybe the other person, And I say, if that is the case, then Lord, let that person become elected, and I will pray for that person. I will pray for God's will to be done in my life, in your life, in the life of my family, the life of this church family, and the life of our community, and in the life of this country. Absolutely, right? Let me pray for you, and I'll let you guys go. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for blessing us the way that you have. I thank you for the desserts that we had. I thank you for those that are here tonight. I thank you for those, Lord, that are on fall break right now. I know that there are different ones traveling. I thank you for our bishop who's going to be coming here in just a couple of short weeks. That's going to be such an awesome time. I thank you for the message that we've been talking about tonight and the things that we're going to study and talk about on Sunday and next Wednesday as well. I thank you for all of these things. I pray, Father, for this rolling trunk or treat thing. I just pray that it would help people to say, wow, cannot believe the love that the people at that church has for people that aren't even plugged into their church. I pray that they would come out in droves, and I pray that people will end up just looking at this church or looking to you, knowing you, and wanting more of what they see on that night in their lives. I just pray for those that are sick. I pray for those that are recovering. I pray, Lord, for elderly folks, those that have been having tests, those that are in the hospital now. Lord, you know each one, each prayer request. We've brought them to you again and again. Lord, thank you, Lord. You know, you remind us, even in the Lord's Prayer, before the Lord's Prayer, you told us not to ramble on because you already know the things that we need even before we ask them. I thank you, Lord, for this. We do love you. And I pray, Lord, that you would multiply our numbers, and I pray that you would help our church to grow more and more healthy, more and more eager to know you, more and more in love with you, more and more eager to do your work and your will in our lives. It's in Jesus' name we pray these things. And all God's people said, amen. God bless you guys for tuning in. We will see you all again soon. Lord bless.